Hey y'all, welcome to my first video for my Intro to Metalsmithing series, piercing or sawing. There's a few things you'll need for this tutorial. First, you'll need a saw, some form of lubrication like beeswax, a glue stick like Elmer's glue, a metal sheet, we're using silver here, a printed design on printer paper, and saw blades. Not included here would be a bench pin and a hard surface to put that bench pin on. For this tutorial, we're going to be cutting out bats and a moon. So to get started, you want to print out your design, whatever it is, on basic printer paper with a normal printer. I think I have a Brothers laser printer. You print that out on some printer paper and cut out your design, give it a little space around the design so that we have enough surface to actually glue this to your metal. The thickness of the metal sheet that we're working with today is about 22 gauge. All of the details will be in the description box, so go ahead and check it out there, as well as potential links for where you could purchase these items. Next, we're going to glue it to the metal. I'm just using a regular school glue stick. You want to glue the actual paper as well as the metal and then press them together so that you get a good bond. Next, we need to prepare the actual saw. Here we're using Hercules saw blades in 5/0. I usually cut with 5 or 6/0, depending on the thickness of the metal. I already have an open bundle, so I'm going to go ahead and use these. Once I pull one of these saw blades out, you'll really see how tiny these blades are. It's very important that the teeth of the blade are pointing in the right direction so that you can actually cut efficiently. So you see how tiny these are. The first thing I look for is what direction are the blades pointing. So I do this by lightly pinching the blade and slightly moving my fingers up or down. If I move them down, I'm checking to see if my fingers catch. You'll see right here, my finger catches moving down. And so I flip the blade around and I pinch again. You see how smooth my fingers come down, but when I go up, it catches. Yep. And so now I'm going to look for, are the teeth actually pointing straight up? And so how I do this is I look for almost like a shininess and a serrated shininess, like you saw right there. I'll zoom in so you can see it. So when I see that shine, I know that the teeth are pointing straight up. So once you find that, let's go ahead and feed it into your saw. When you're ready to feed the blade into the saw itself, you need a hard surface. So you can either use your bench, or I use my bench pin, and I press it between the bench pin and my shoulder or my sternum. Once it's stable, you want to go ahead and lightly place the blade with the teeth facing up into the 2 slots. Tighten one side down. Now you want to press into the actual saw and into the bench pin to cause some tension, and then tighten the other end. So in order to check the tightness, I use my fingernail in order to see if it makes a ringing noise, like a ting. And if I hear that noise, I know that it's tight enough. You don't want any movement in that blade, or else I do it again, because it's not going to be as efficient in cutting. So let's go ahead and go over some safety. You want to have some kind of bench pin in order to cut in a safe place. You know, you want some kind of bench or hard surface to apply the bench pin to. I like a bench pin that has some grooves in it, but specifically I like it with holes. Why? Because at any point, your blade can slip. So if I work with a lot of tiny pieces, if I am ever cutting I make sure that my fingers are out of the way, and I cut. If my fingers are in the way, I make sure it's in a safe place behind the circle. So whenever I'm cutting, I'm not afraid that I'm going to cut myself. I can promise you, even with experience, I still cut myself. So you can see the blade is going to stop after I cut. And I don't have to worry about it flying somewhere, potentially cutting. I actually cut myself earlier this week, so it still happens. Once you have the saw blade on the saw, we need to discuss lubrication. So I've got two kinds of lubrication. This is just wax, like beeswax. And this is actual Gems lube. So I actually use this more for my drills, like whenever I'm drilling. But you can also use this as saw wax. So whenever you're applying it, you don't want to apply too much. You don't want to gum up the blade. But I usually do 1, 2 going with the grain so that it doesn't clog up the actual blade. This, if you can tell from the straight up and down lines, I cut with this a lot. So I wax my blade with this specifically. I usually have it with me, and in between, while I'm cutting a lot, I'll make sure to re-wax throughout cutting. So just to get started, I have a piece of scrap here, and we're gonna go over cutting straight versus cutting curves. So if you ever want to cut straight, you want to press down on the metal, place your blade in, kind of get a little divot in there. You're not pressing hard onto the metal. You're just letting the blade do the work. If you want to go straight, start to lean your saw blade straight forward. See how straight this is. Now stop. Say I want to change direction. You want to place the blade straight up and down and kind of turn the piece as you up and down cut. Now we can go straight again by tilting forward. So just to give you an idea of the cut here, you can see that we did a square cut. You can kind of tell a little bit of rounding, but that's how you change direction. Now, if you want to completely do a round cut, you need to be straight up and down and turning as you cut. So you see I'm straight up and down and I'm turning as I cut. So there you go. Here's an example of turning as you cut. You want the blade straight up and down. So we're going to go ahead and start with the easy one. We're going to start with the moon. I know some people may be thinking that doesn't seem easy at all, but it's pretty much straight lines. I mean, continuous lines, just slightly curved. So I went ahead and put the curved end on the edge for a reason, because that's how I like to start any of my moons, because I want those really pointy edges. So I would start straight up and down, get to the edge, stop, and then start to turn. Once I get in the direction of the moon, then I start cutting. Take your time. You don't have to be super speedy quick. Even myself, I've been cutting, sawing for a long time. I still like to take my time. So I'm backing the blade out so I can now go in this opposite direction here. So let's go ahead and straight up and down, and just keep turning with the piece. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. You can always go in and sand if you need to. The biggest thing is you don't go too far into your design, because you can take away but you can't add. All right, so went ahead and cut a little bit past the tip of the moon because I'm going to turn around. So let me go ahead and straight up and down. I'm turning, turning, turning. All right, so you see it is coming up a little bit. Maybe I didn't glue this just enough, but all right. So now I'm gonna find the tip of the moon and I'm gonna start small little cuts just to get myself started. And then we're gonna go ahead and straight up and down, slowly turning the piece. If it ever gets kind of chalky, check, because you might be inside cutting the actual wood of your bench pin. So turn the piece. As you get near the end of a piece, especially small, you'll start noticing it'll start bending. So what I like to do is support the piece I already cut on the wood of your bench pin, and I like to support it. Put the weight of my hand on it, and then just keep turning, and we should be done soon. All right. Ding. Right. In order to remove your sticker, because we use glue, all you have to really do is wet it with some water in order to remove any sticky residue, as well as to quickly remove your printer. So there's our moon right there. So now we're moving into something a little more intermediate, the bat. So I like to start at the very tip. So we're gonna go straight up and down. When you start working with something small, sometimes you need to blow every once in a while to get some of the tiny little pieces of silver out of the way. So I just got to the edge of one of the wings and turn, and then cut. You'll notice my blade is straight up and down during this entire process. Go a little past it, turn. Turn, and then cut. And then pivot, straight up and down, and cut. Alright, so a little bit easier side is the top of the wings, because it's a little bit straight up and down. Okay, and go. So I'm holding down the design with my finger. You'll see I'm still straight up and down. I got to the neck of the bat. Let's go ahead and lean back and start twisting around so that we change direction. Keep it straight up and down. All right, now so this is a straight piece, so I'm gonna lean a little bit forward and stop. Now, straight up and down, let's twist around. Straight up and down, twist. If you ever turn your piece too fast, one of the ways that I like to check myself is I'll lift the piece, and if you twist it like this, the piece will automatically correct itself. So, straight up and down. All right, now let's lean forward because we're going straight. Straight. All right. All right, let's go ahead and twist. Twist straight up and down. Let's turn it straight up and down. And straight. All right, now we're twisting about 270 degrees. So take your time, turn. All right, now go Go straight up and down. It's a slight curve, so I stay straight up and down. Straight up and down. Tip. All right, now you want to turn, 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 turn. Okay, now let's finish off with these little curves. Curve one, stop, straight up and down, twist, curve two, around, stop, straight up and down, change direction. It's just all gonna take practice. Okay, now we're getting to the end. You'll notice that I instinctively started supporting the small piece on wood, and I'm pressing down. I don't want to lose the piece, I don't want it to bend. So then I start slowly finishing it off, and done. And again, here's that safety where it's gonna stop. So now that we've got big bat, I'm gonna go ahead and just cut out the small bat, and y'all can watch or do it with me. That concludes our saw tutorial for today. Thanks for watching, and follow for more Intro to Metalsmithing episodes. Remember, if you break any blades today, that's okay. I still break blades to this day.